That comic podcast.
Hello. Welcome to That Comic Podcast. I'm your host, Menti, and with me, as always, are my wonderful sidekicks. First, Mr. Thank God he's back, Moscow.
Can I kick it?
Always.
Yes,
always.
you can.
Always good, sir. Love hearing that voice. And you also heard P Features.
Hello, Internet.
Buttery as always. And then the creature of culture, the horror historian himself, Buzzsaw. Oh, I'm so happy to have both of you back because dealing with Features and Huey alone is tiresome.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, it's good to be back.
I still love you. Sometimes. All right. Welcome to the show, and I'm not going to lie to you good folks. We are all in a panic because in just a few days, it is Super Jersey Comic Expo, and we are doing our best to get prepared and get up there and give everybody a pretty cool show. So, with that being said, we have so much to talk about that we're probably not going to be doing as much on comic reviews this week. This week, comic reviews are going to take a little bit of a back seat. We do have some stuff to talk about, but we can't ignore the fact that this weekend was the Star Wars celebration in Tokyo, so we definitely got to go over all the major announcements there. Plus, we had the Daredevil finale, which we didn't really get a chance to talk about, and that crazy-ass Fantastic Four trailer, plus all the idiots who hate it. And I also kind of want to talk about Superman a little bit, so I want to throw that in there. And then, yeah, Super Jersey. It's all about Super Jersey right now. Super Jersey Comic Expo has controlled, consumed, and infiltrated my life in every single way possible. So, yeah, let's just get right into it, fellas. Did we all get a chance to see any of Star Wars Celebration this year?
A bunch of it.
Yeah,
A lot of the announcements.
Little snippets here and there from the leaks coming out.
Yeah. And, well, it's always so funny because they release all of those kind of round table interviews, but then there's also the panels where all the interesting stuff happens.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of things for you to watch, but most of the stuff you have to that's interesting is the leaks. So very few interesting things happen from the panel. Excuse me, I don't even know what it is. Is it a panel? Like, what would you even call that? Where they walk out on the round stage and all the fans are there?
Presentation.
Like a
Presentation.
Oh. Yeah. It's a panel. What I found interesting is I was able to, listen to a couple other podcasts, some YouTube videos of people talking about it. And what I noticed and what I found interesting was a lot of them would say there were a bunch of announcements. There were leaks. I wouldn't say we saw the leaks, but if I saw the leaks, this is what actually happened.
we didn't see it, but if we did,
guess what? We saw the leaks.
Not only did I see the leaks, I went out of my way to see the leaks. Not going to lie. Actually, Baby Huey's a godsend. He didn't make it this week, but boy, oh boy, was he helping out in every way possible.
Screen capture king of the day.
Boy, oh boy, did he not disappoint, and nor did Star Wars. Because I actually have some, there's not only, first off, I just want to say that while the leaks and the information and the new things that they announced were cool, there's just something special about Star Wars Celebration in general, regardless on whether or not you're happy or unhappy with Disney. Like, take all of those feelings away. Star Wars Celebration just has this incredible way of getting you excited, regardless on if you've been let down over and over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got a really good way of sort of rebooting things and restarting things and getting people excited again. And I think some of the new stuff that we've seen is like going to be pretty cool.
Well, and also, I don't want to harp on this for too long, but like when Hayden Christensen came back and he got very emotional his first time coming back because he actually got to see and feel the fans for once be there for him when he felt so alone before all of the Clone Wars and the kids who actually grew up with the prequels. Like, it was really nice to have that moment. And this one had it as well in a panel I did not expect to care as much about, which was The Acolyte. When the Stranger came out from The Acolyte, you could tell he was waiting to be eviscerated by the fans. And they were very supportive because, again, he was one of the coolest characters in that show. And it was really nice to have him feel as though his time wasn't wasted and that he is kind of shamed from so much effort that they put into, while crappy script, not his fault, and he did a great job.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, everything that was cool about that show kind of stemmed from The Stranger. and that he got that moment where he got to be recognized, when I'm sure he has been like, man, screw Star Wars. I'm sure that's what he's been thinking for a while now. So that, I thought that was a really nice moment. And I also love every single time Rosario Dawson comes out and talks about how her and Hayden Christensen came up together. So they already have that Anakin Ahsoka
Chemistry.
life. Yeah. Well before they ever, like, I saw in an interview that she like dated his brother for a little bit. Wow. Like, they are very close knit, which I find amazing. She was, I forget what his name was, but she was like, "How's Ted?" It's not his name, but still, it's fun to see those moments even though it's not like the big hoopla and the fancy, the celebrity wow moments, which we got several. I mean, not only did we get Starfighter announced with Ryan Gosling. So it was wild seeing Ryan Gosling come out.
Absolutely. I was going to say, like, with these characters and with Star Wars particularly, it's been around long enough that, like, things come back around again. Like, they come out, they're cool, they get ragged on, they disappear, and then something happens and it, like, recirculates in a way that is, like, cool again, and you pick back up, like, what you liked about it from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to keep the show to an hour, but moments like this are going to screw that up. But
sorry,
no, it's not you, it's me. But the internet is such a divisive place, and the weirdest part is there's two sects of Star Wars fans, and most of us are, even when we're not happy, still respectable. And that's what I noticed at Star Wars Celebration, that even people who you would expect to be based on, fan outcry, we'll say, would be ragged on, really got nice, wonderful moments, respectful moments. Because think about it. I mean, the poor girl who played Rose in the sequel trilogy was bullied off the internet. There were so many stupid moments that happened.
It's unnecessary.
Right. And I don't blame Star Wars fans from that, but there are people who did it. Like, that isn't there's no question that those things happen. So when these moments show us that, it proves that it's not Star Wars fans, it's assholes on the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I love about these moments, is it revitalizes a fandom, even if the product is no longer as deserving of those fans.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it earlier in the week or something, about how Star Wars is kind of the first big fandom outside of, like, the Beatles and Elvis. And so you've got, like, 40 years of fandom on this, of hysterics.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it gets a little messy and muddy, but at its core, you're drawn to it for some reason. As a Star Wars fan.
I had this thought about Star Wars probably late last night during the last day of the celebration. As a fan, and I was thinking about it, like, we don't. It's not a problem to get new Star Wars, right? That's never the issue. It's when it's no. Hear me out. Getting something new isn't the issue, but when it doesn't, like, uphold what we know, or like for instance, the Acolyte. I think we all were excited about the Acolyte, and then we got the Acolyte and was like, this script is trash, and from that alone, we vilified the entire show. Well, without exclusion of actors, and that's unfair to the actors. But at the same time, as fans and growing up with Star Wars, we got to realize, like, no person or no one entity will bat 1,000. There's got to be a miss here and there.
Well, and also I want to make sure that everyone understands that he's using the royal we. We're not saying that we just ragged on that show, because while we did, we also said it was the best choreography I've seen since the prequels. Like, it does have really strong moments that made you want to keep watching, regardless of the fact that it turned out to be trash as a whole.
Right. Visually amazing.
Script-wise, did you guys? There's also, that's not in our notes, but there's also a weird thing that's rolling around the internet, which I want to call bullshit on, but I at least want to address it because I'm seeing a bunch of people talk about this. Apparently, Kathy came out a few times, and they just keep cutting the footage of her because she wasn't getting good reactions, and I think that's probably trash. I did see one of the videos that people are talking about, but they muted it. Wow. So you can't really hear what anyone's talking, what's happening, and it's just like someone looks like they're giving a thumbs down, and they're like, "See, Disney doesn't want you to see this," and I'm like, "No, you're rage baiting, buddy. That's all you're doing." I understand the hate for Kathy when it comes to Star Wars, but this visceral anger that people have towards her, even though she's responsible for some of your favorite franchises, I think it's nonsense.
I tell you, man, she's kind of like Hollywood, like a little bit of like a Hollywood legacy producer. Like, even before Star Wars, man, like everything with Steven Spielberg. So it's kind of like, I mean, I understand people get mad and everything, but like pay a little bit of respect because like she made she helped fund like all the cool stuff that everybody likes.
Well, my asterisk would be you don't have to respect her for Star Wars because she did a lot of shit things there. But but past that, that she is responsible for so much of our happiness growing up.
Yeah, which is crazy. When you went down her track list, I was like, what?
Yeah, she's got an incredible track list.
Yeah, it is insane.
Let's reel it back in. My bad. That's my fault.
We'll talk about all the trolls of the internet sooner or later today.
I've got plenty of things to say to that. But I first want to start with Mandalorian and Grogu.
Fun.
I think that trailer was great.
Super
I really liked it. And I know it's... Okay. I know that the biggest complaint so far has been that it doesn't feel like it's connected in the grand scheme of things and that it's really just this, hole in the wall story that doesn't affect much. But you know what? So is a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't necessarily need...
The best stuff's going to be independent storytelling when it comes to Star Wars because at this point it's outer rim stories in the outer rim of the Star Wars universe. Like, we don't have to like tie it together to something that came out in 1983.
Yeah, there's so many worlds. There's so many characters. You can go in any direction as long as it's in the same.
What a
galaxy.
Perfect example. Skeleton Crew is a prime example. It's Disney done right. It doesn't tie into anything, and it gives you a cool out of the box experience. And my hope is that Mando pulls off season 1 and season 2, and it seems like they are because it was interesting to hear Jon Favreau saying that normally we only have a year to work on these things, and now I've got years to get it right. So they were able to build full sets. Apparently, they built a full AT-AT Walker.
That's awesome.
They built a full AT-AT. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome.
Yeah. You
so
can utilize the props too. Like at this point, it can be an amusement park prop. So stuff, man. People want to see it. That's the joy of Star Wars is the masks, the costumes. The immersiveness of that world.
And Mando went Mando, very John Wicky, and it was everything you wanted to see. And I also like the introduction of the Hutt from the Clone Wars original movie. Seeing him come out, I was like, "Ooh, that was cool. All right, I'll take that."
But you know what? Honestly speaking, that's what we want. Like that's what we got that got us into the Mandalorian in the first place. The only thing I would be concerned about or worried about is if the script is actually good. Which I'm not trying to jinx anything.
Sure,
I'm just saying.
It's a legit worry.
Where's Bill Burr?
Favreau.
I trust Favreau. I'm just saying.
Favreau. It's going to be fun. I am actually way more excited than this. Like when we heard those leaks that people weren't digging it, after seeing that leak trailer, I'm not too worried anymore.
I'm into it.
Pretty psyched.
The only thing that was questionable about that entire presentation was the boots that Pedro was wearing.
Yes, that was a little. The thigh gap was interesting, but you know what? Only Pedro can pull it off. There's only one person. He literally had on the puffy shirt from Seinfeld and thigh high boots, and I was like, you know what? Pedro's rocking it.
He's been wearing some unique outfits.
But good for him. He can pull it off. He can pull it off, and nobody else can. And he even mocks himself for doing it. I love the fact that he was is self-aware. So yes, that was also another nice aspect of Tokyo's celebration was the amount of representation in that room. It was really nice hearing the amount of people who were just that from the different countries who were excited. Like I love that the Mexican representation for when Andor came out, when Cassian came out. I don't remember the actor's name, but every time they all had these moments of like connecting to different groups within there, and it was just nice to see because it shows how much Star Wars has evolved, and I love it. It just makes me very happy. But how's another thing for Mandalorian and Grogu? Real big reveal was Sigourney Weaver.
Yep.
Sigourney Weaver being there is also really cool. What a smart move to pull in, the goddess of sci-fi.
Put Ripley back in space.
Mm-hmm. And hearing her talk about it was fun to hear her talk about her love for sci-fi and why she gravitates to science fiction. Like it's fun to see those moments, especially in a setting like that where it's a very vulnerable setting because they are surrounded by thousands of people.
Yeah.
Where it could go haywire quick. And it never did. And it's nice. It's nice to see. All right, we said Gosling and Sean Levy's movie. That's going to take place like 6 years after Episode 9.
Starfighter,
Yeah, we don't know much about it. We just know that it's in production. So we are getting it next year, 2027.
Will they change the name to Star Killer?
Oh
No,
no,
not at all. Not going to happen.
Will Rey show up in this movie?
Maybe. I hear her movie just got pushed back another year because of Starfighter.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If it's supposed to take place, was it? You said after the sequel trilogy, prequel trilogy.
See, it's 6 years after.
6. Okay, so I mean,
I'll tell you why it's going to work, because this guy's already made like 3 driving movies where he's like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, and he's going to be a cool new Han.
You just put him in an X-wing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Him as a new Han, I love. I think he would make a great new Han.
He was wearing the hat that said "Never tell me the odds" too.
yes,
Yeah.
that was. I like Ryan Gosling as an actor, and I think he has this
He's awesome.
like this really crazy ability to just mold into whatever story it is. So I think he'll be able to pull off the character, and we'll probably love it. Again, the only thing I would be concerned about is the script.
And you know what? With what I'm hearing about the Rey movie, about how she probably won't have a big role in it, which is wild, that she's going to be like later in her life already having a new school and already being a master who's working with the next generation. I don't think Daisy Ridley deserves that. I think Daisy Ridley deserves that second shot that Hayden Christensen got, that Ahmed Best got. Like, one of the things that Star Wars is recently doing is trying to right the wrongs of the past. And Daisy Ridley is 100% one of those people, because regardless on your feelings of Rey, she did a great job.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to, I think, probably the most exciting news of all is the Darth Maul show. Oh, buddy, that Darth Maul show. I know Moshko's going to hate it, but I can't wait.
Mosh,
it's
love
animated.
this.
It's animated.
Well,
It's animated.
I mean,
Hey, we'll see.
but it's Darth Maul.
So it's animated.
But
He doesn't
is
like
it-
Invincible.
Oh, that's just crazy.
Not like it. I just can't get into it.
That would be the same thing.
Can I say one thing before you start on this? 'Cause
Please.
I was just thinking about it. A couple weeks ago, there was another Disney presentation. We were talking about it, and I was like, "There's this thing in Japan that's happening. What could they possibly be talking about? Because they released all this other information." I think we got way more out of this than anything
I was
like the
going to
last
say,
year.
but just between Gosling and Weaver alone, that is huge.
Yeah.
Huge stars, man.
They also said that all the other things they've announced, none of it's backburnered. Because remember, Star Wars has a habit of announcing something
Pushing
and then
stuff,
immediately pushing it on them. But apparently, even Taika Waititi's movies are still in the works, and I find that odd, because he's literally come out saying, "I plan on pissing everybody off," and it's like, when Ryan Johnson decided to do that, he succeeded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Great
I don't
job.
know if that's necessarily what you want, but
Kind of
okay.
edgelord anyway.
Yeah, but for what reason, I don't know. I don't think this is the
yeah.
fandom to mess around with. I think they of all fandoms, this is not the one to play around with.
Just deliver.
And that's why I think Shadow Lord for Darth Maul's TV show is such a great idea. That's going to take place in between. It's before Rebels, so it's leading up from Clone Wars to Rebels.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about this is the fact that he's training an apprentice, and that apprentice is who P features.
Darth Talon. That is who it's
Why
rumored
is-
to be.
Why is that exciting, features?
Because she is a Legends character and she can finally become canon, which was,
Oh, buddy.
which
She's
was-
more than a Legends character.
but she's
more.
just-
She's more than that. She's more than that. She's a Twi'lek. I think that's how you
She's
call her.
Twi'lek.
Twi'lek with the.
I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
She's what
But
Hera
yeah,
is.
She's
with
like
the-
Hera
Sounded like a
Syndulla. Yeah.
derogatory term for a second there.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing that's special about her.
Yes.
In the original treatment for episodes 7, 8, and 9 that George Lucas wanted to make, she was the main villain underneath Darth Maul, and she was the next Sith in line. So Darth Maul takes over after the Emperor dies, and then he trains an apprentice who's Darth Talon. So the fact that they're finally bringing in aspects of Legends like they did with Thrawn, that was so wildly successful, they're starting to pull in elements that just make it so much more exciting to not only new fans, but old fans. And that, I think, is the bread and butter that they need to stick with.
And I just want to add that, and I've talked to you about this before, like there's so many more stories with Legends that we haven't seen visually that they should absolutely pull from. Because it will do nothing but make everyone happy. That's all we really need.
But remember, Kathy said, and this is one of the things that pissed everybody off at first, is they have no source material. It's like, well, yes, you do. You're just choosing to ignore it.
right.
That's a whole different story, buddy. That's a completely different. But regardless, let's not go down the Kathy, the Kathy train. Sam Witwer is coming back. That's exciting. Love that Sam Witwer's back to voice because that dude is also Star Wars royalty at this point. Like he will forever be connected to Star Wars, and I feel like that dude should be on set for everything they work on to make sure that things don't go wrong. Apparently, when they were working on Solo, because he has that cameo in it, and he does the voice, even though Ray Park is the one who shows up as Darth Maul in the Solo movie.
Yeah,
it's his voice.
Oh, word.
And they were like, not Spielberg, what's his name? Ron Howard was like, we're going to have him pull out his lightsaber. And he goes, which one? And he goes, the double-bladed one. He goes, well, he lost that one. So you got two choices here. You could do the dark saber or you can do the Inquisitor's saber. But I think the Inquisitor saber's like, that's why you need him around.
Yes.
And that's honestly why he has a job, because apparently he did that to Dave Filoni. Apparently Dave Filoni was like, they were reading this scene where Anakin's like, talking to his mom's ghost, and he's like, and I want you to meet Padme, and then he stops the reading and goes, we got to do that again, because they had dinner together in the first movie. Episode 1 they meet, and that's why he is, I feel, someone that should always be at the forefront of who they're bringing in to work on projects. I think Dave Filoni and Sam Witwer should be involved in most things. And I also think what we're seeing now is proof that Dave Filoni is still the one that we want him to be. It's just that he was trying to course correct, and it takes time to do that.
Right.
Like everyone's giving him shit for The Acolyte, but it's not really his fault. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
He may have signed off on it, but it wasn't his. Not like he could say no.
He didn't direct it, right?
No, but apparently he signed off on it. But I doubt he necessarily signed off on it. I think they were like, "We're going to make this," and there's like, and he was like, "I guess so."
Right. Exactly. Forced his hand. All right.
So I still believe in Dave Filoni. I still think that there's
big fan of that guy. He's a big fan of Star Wars. You got to give him time to cook.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Oh, and then by the way, this is just a little throwaway for you features. There's a couple of mangas coming out. One for Thrawn. They're doing the Thrawn series, the in-canon Thrawn series from 2017. And then they're also doing Jedi Survivor. So we're getting Cal Kestis in manga form. So that's kind of cool. Still amazed that they haven't brought him into the live action. Like, what's the point of mocapping and making this dude look exactly like the actor to not bring him into anything? Is still wild to me. But I have a feeling they're saving him for Heir to the Empire. I feel like that's going to be one of the big shocks to the Heir to the Empire movie. Speaking of which, let's move on over to Ahsoka because all right, there was a teaser leak. But it wasn't really a teaser because they haven't filmed anything for it. But they showed a lot of concept art of some of the things that they're planning on doing. And then in some of the interviews, Dave Filoni let it slip that most of the show is going to be a war. So the war with Thrawn isn't waiting until Heir to the Empire. It's going to start in Ahsoka Season 2. And they're going to juxtapose it with Clone Wars footage. So we'll get more Clone Wars backstory footage with Ewan McGregor and all that stuff. They didn't announce Ewan, but they 100% announced Hayden Christensen, which we all kind of knew, but then it's official now. But they also announced the entire Rebels team is going to be there. So Zeb, even though Zeb is in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which was awesome seeing him in the trailer, he's also going to be back. So the entire Rebels crew is there. Hera apparently is going to play a big role within the war, which is also nice because she was outstanding. Her casting is damn near perfect. And everyone, like I don't know, I'm not on this Chopper bandwagon that everybody else is. He's not my favorite droid, but apparently people love him. I'm also not the biggest Rebel fan, so
they said Chopper had the chopper on him. Or wasn't that what it? A big
Chopper
gun
got chopped.
No, I got what you said. I got what you said. But what about Roy McCann? Did you guys see that first look of him taking over for Ray Stevens
First
as
off,
Balon Skoll?
I want to say he looks amazing. And
but
I like the fact he looks a little bit more grizzled, which I think he should because
he's also not white hair.
Yeah, and there's time in between from when the last time we seen Balon Skoll, and right now Balon is still on Peridia. Everybody else is left. So I would love to see what's going on with him and what happens.
Well, there's some of the screenshots, not necessarily screenshots. I forget what it was. The concept art. Yeah. Ahsoka is standing on the Mortis finger again. And as we know, the Mortis gods are going to play a big role. Apparently, from what they showed, that this goes back, because I learned this at the convention, or not the convention, the event, that Dave Filoni sits on ideas for like 10 years.
Sure.
So he had an idea all the way back from Clone Wars that underneath the Jedi Temple was a Sith Temple. And within that Sith Temple, there's a giant Sith mech Zord thing.
I'm sorry.
Like
what?
a huge robotic Sith being that apparently the Mortis gods are going to activate and Ahsoka's going to fight. Which, awesome.
Okay. I'll take it.
Awesome.
That sounds cool.
I'll take that
Sounds
all
like
day.
the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Kind of.
Who knows what's underneath that thing?
Apparently a giant robot.
Giant AI.
But yeah, I couldn't be more excited. There's some other things that they announced. There's some video games they announced. The Star Wars Zero Company. If you're into strategy-based games, that's probably your thing. It looked like the droid robot that they brought in from that Star Wars Rivals or whatever it's called. Not Marvel Rivals. The Star Wars a version of that. They made like brand new characters for. One of them was a droid that believes he's a Jedi. And it looks like there's that. I could be wrong. I might be connecting dots that aren't there, but it looks like the same one. So that's kind of cool, but I'm not into strategy-based games like that, so probably won't play it.
I would say they also announced Star Wars Visions 3, and they're bringing back probably the best or the most popular stories from that. The first one was The Duel, which you watched that with me before, and you were like, that's cool, but not really a thing. That was the black and white one with the samurai. And then there's the Ninth Jedi, and I believe the third one was the Queen of the Village. All three were the standouts of the second Star Wars Visions series. So, but I'm excited about it. I know you guys don't.
I'm happy you are.
Yeah.
You got a lot of things. You got Visions
I'm excited,
and mangas.
but you just threw like all kinds of names and scenarios and things.
Well, he's talking about the anime that they released. That's
Right,
like
right.
the
It's
outside
like an
stories.
anthology series for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, cool enough. If you're into it, I'm glad it exists
happy for
you.
you.
Exactly.
Thank
Exactly.
you,
Most
General. I
Star Wars.
appreciate
Most
that.
Star Wars.
I don't want to ever watch it again, but I'm happy you have it. So let's switch gears here because, again, we got a lot to get through. And while I could do 4 hours on just Star Wars, I also want to complain
true.
about the internet. You're here, listen to me, internet. I want to complain about you. That Fantastic Four trailer. Let's just. I think we can all agree it was incredible.
Fire.
Yeah.
It was everything I hoped it would be. It showed all of the things I thought it was going to show. I mean, we talked about this in that leak before of how it looks like he's not going to be able to save that world.
Yeah.
And
But unfortunately for us, we like to talk positively about something when it actually is positive, so that's not going to gain any traction. That's all it comes down to.
Yes, no, I completely agree because I want to talk about the slew of videos that
There are
I've seen.
Looney Tunes out there saying Looney Tunes. I don't know where that came from.
I
but
loved
Keep
it. Keep
going.
it
That's all
going.
I
there,
keep
there are
going.
Looney Tunes out there saying that the CGI on 2025 Silver Surfer, sure, whatever we're calling her,
Shalla-Bal.
is not as good as 2007.
What?
Whatever. You guys are nuts.
Stupid.
Sorry.
That's really dumb.
Insane.
That's really dumb.
I have another example of this in a completely different area of entertainment, but we'll talk about this a little bit more first.
I'm not even upset at people being upset about CGI. I've done this show long enough with you and Maurer that I just get over that.
Well, those rhinos were bad.
You guys, yes, yes, but it didn't ruin Black Panther for me. it didn't ruin the exciting experience. So my point is that people are more upset that Shalla-Bal is going to be the Silver Surfer of this movie instead of Norrin Radd, the original Silver Surfer from the standard 616 universe, even though we already know that this isn't 616. And we also know that the Celestials are based on Earth X. What else is based on Earth X, features?
Shalla-Bal is the Silver Surfer.
Uh-huh.
And Galactus, and also Norrin Radd to a certain extent. They were both co-heralds.
Yes.
Just Norrin died.
And they died in the war with the Celestials, which is... And who is that version of Galactus in Earth X? Do you remember? Don't worry if you don't. I got you, baby bird.
Feed me, feed me.
Feed me.
Franklin.
Frank,
Yeah.
Buzzsaw. Yes. Franklin Richards is reborn as Galactus because they realized that he is a universal constant that is required to keep the celestial population at bay and that he cannot go without existing. Otherwise, existence wouldn't exist.
Yep.
So he is recreated, and when he's recreated, he then gives Silver Surfer and Shalla-Bal, both the power cosmic, to help fend off the Celestials, which is when they both die.
Yeah.
So what do we know is going to happen in this movie?
She's gonna have a baby.
She's going.
Well, that's true.
She'll die, and Norman Rad will be.
And Norm Rad will come in. Yeah, that's what we get.
Well, no, Norman Rad won't be in. This whole universe is going to go.
The whole universe is going. That's
whole
what
universe
we mean.
is gone. Whole universe is gone, and it's going to be with something to do with Galactus and something to do with incursions. I think what's going to actually happen is that there's going to be an incursion that he needs Franklin's help. He's like, your son's going to be really important to this, and we really got to. We got to make sure your son's cool. And they're thinking that Galactus is going to ruin the world or destroy things, and they stop Galactus only to find out that there was an incursion right behind him.
Mm-hmm. And who might that be behind the incursion? Mayhaps.
I don't think there needs to be anybody. If the
You're
incursion
telling
happens,
me they're sending somebody from the future to come back and take out the son of Sue Storm.
Cable.
I don't even know. I'm not piecing that part together. I just think
Terminator
that
2. Come on.
that Galactus.
It's a joke.
I'm seeing where you're going. I'm picking up what you're putting down. It just took me a second. I do think that they are going to succeed in stopping Galactus, but it's still going to end in an incursion, even though we don't know anybody from our Earth or any other Earth that is there. But honestly, they're saying that Galactus himself might be a multiversal entity in the MCU and that he needs to be there, or that him showing up there is what's going to cause an incursion.
Which heavy duty enough to happen. Yeah.
Which is strange, only because I know Galactus isn't specifically directly from the 616 universe, or even I think
he was from the earlier firmament, if we want to use the correct terminology from Marvel. He was from not the first firmament. I forget what he is, like the fourth. But what is his name? What the hell is his name? Guy. It starts with a G.
Give me a second. I'm gonna get my baby.
I forget what his name is. But anyway, he is a person who knew that the end of the universe was coming and then ends up surviving. But through the process of entering into the next universe, he becomes Galactus. And Galactus, I think, by the way, Earth X version of Galactus is a much smarter take on Galactus than him being a space condom is awesome. He's birth control.
Gallon.
It's 100
Earth control.
Gallon. That's right. He is. He's Earth control.
Earth control.
But no, for real. That's the role he plays in Earth X, which I think is a smarter move.
Yeah.
Because it's literally to keep the Celestials at bay. Since we know that they impregnate planets in the MCU, which is not the truth for the comics. In the comics, they live outside of the universe. They are part of the first firmament. They cause an uprising, the Celestial uprising. They get the name Celestials because they go against the first firmament. Anyway, that's all that's from a book called The Ultimates, after All New, All Different Marvel. I think that's when that happened. But anyway, point being is, relax, everybody. It's a good trailer. It's gonna meet the needs. It's gonna fit the world that it's supposed to fit in. And just because it's Shalla-Bal doesn't make it a bad trailer. And all the people who are just clamoring for these videos where people are claiming you're being played.
You're rage baiting and you're hating. Period.
They're all going to go watch it anyway.
Of course.
Well, because they have to, because that's going to be their livelihood. And then they're going to complain about how horrible it is, because that's their job now. Find reasons to hate things.
Meanwhile, we'll be busy enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
oh yeah, I'm going to
exactly.
lose my goddamn mind. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yes, the trailer was outstanding. It was full of phenomenal moments. It was very exciting. Each character felt right. And I love Marvel for doing this. The Superman homage.
Oh yeah.
The
with
Superman
the car.
homage was dope. The car the car the Thing picks up is the same car that Clark picks up on the first cover
Action
of Superman.
Comics #1.
Yeah.
Yes. That was
Brilliant.
amazing.
I also did you see all the people making the connection of him pulling the boat, just like in Man of Steel?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think they're doing that on purpose because Superman's coming out at the same time, and they're just paying respect.
And
it's cool, man.
Kudos to Marvel for that.
I love that.
There's this whole swath of the internet that's saying, "Look, they're copying off of DC. This movie's gonna flop."
Oh,
see,
flop is like
they're doing something
the
they've
F word
been
now.
They're doing something they've been doing for 100 years.
Yeah, but both companies. If you want to
Let
be
me
fair,
see. What was Fantastic Four a response to? The Justice League.
Yeah.
It was Marvel's attempt at creating a family of superheroes, in response to the success of the original, actually Justice Society of America books. But regardless, oh no, it was Justice League. It was actually Justice League, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was actually Justice League because Marvel is so much further on down the line. I think
Here in the halls of justice.
Yeah, my bad. We don't need to go down this rabbit hole. my bad.
They inspire each other.
Yes.
Yeah, and 100%.
And you know what's awesome? When you like both.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
When
love both.
When
I
you
love
ride or
both.
die for one over the other, it's just you come off as a weirdo to me.
It's weird.
Prime example, I actually am super excited about Superman. But right now, Fantastic Four has my attention because it's like, this is a alley-oop for a much bigger story.
All right, well, that's a hell of a segue.
Thunderbolts.
Oh, yeah, Thunderbolts looks so
Forget
good.
our Thunderbolts.
Oh, yeah.
Thunderbolts looks so good. Thunderbolts is going to be the best movie of all of them, I think.
I
Probably.
am the Void.
But I'm way more excited for Superman.
Yeah.
It's just, look, when we play Mario Kart, I play as Mario. You know what I mean? Cyclops is the only lead character that I don't really respect all that much.
Hey,
And
come on, man.
It's okay. You've convinced me sometimes, and he was great in X-Men '97. But past that, when he was wearing that red X costume, when he was kind of like dark, he was awesome.
Yes.
But past that, I don't really care.
He was right.
I'm Wolverine through and through, baby. Team Logan. Anyway, let's just because I threw myself off there, let's go back to Superman real quick, just because I want to talk about Superman Day, which was always awesome. Love that Superman Day is a thing, and I love that James Gunn released a really cool behind the scenes. I love hearing about how important the original Superman movie was to him growing up, and that it framed his view on how to make movies, and that's why he was so nervous to take over the property in the first place, and why it took him so long to find an in, and why he actually turned down Superman multiple times. The only way he was willing to do Superman was if the Justice League killed him. Or not the Justice League, excuse me, the Suicide Squad, which, by the way, is what Thunderbolts is.
Yeah.
You want to talk about copying? James Gunn had an idea for the Suicide Squad to fight Superman. Thunderbolts First Century, got it.
but you know what? I just to touch on that too. I appreciate the fact that he needed that time to find the right inspiration, because that means he wants it done right, and that's what we all want. We want something that, because put it like this. No matter whose side you're on, if you're a comic fan in general, if you're thinking main character energy, it starts with Superman. Period.
Yep. Yeah. To me, people who hate Superman just to hate Superman, I don't know. I feel like it's like hating the bands that were popular growing up. Like, oh, you like Linkin Park, dude? They sold out. Like, oh, good Lord.
If you're James Gunn, you've waited your whole life for this opportunity that doesn't even seem real, and then you get it. And then you get it, and it's like let's
be all happy for him.
You want to hit a home run, it's your boy making it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a legacy you know that you're stepping into, and you want to make sure that if you're continuing that, people will put it in the same vein as what came first.
Well, okay. These movies are so much better. These shows are so much better because fans are behind them.
Yes.
Fans are the ones who are creating them, and sometimes I would still argue they're fans. They don't understand the characters, or they want too much to put their own spin on it. Snyderverse. They want to put their own spin so desperately on a project that, without even saying the word, some bad things happen to Batman in prison if he got his way. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and Google that, because I'm not saying it now that we're on YouTube. But anybody who says that doesn't really have the best interest for the characters in heart. They really just want shocking moments and to make their impact instead of telling a good version of the story of the characters that they get to play with. And I think that's what James Gunn is doing with Superman, that Zack didn't care as much to do. Right. He still had a grandiose idea, and he still did some really cool things. Don't get me wrong. I like the Snyder Cut more than I like most of the other things. But it doesn't change the fact that not all of it was accurate, and especially Superman did not feel like Superman.
Especially Batman not being a great detective.
He started with making movies that he selected because the comics were #1 sellers, like 300, Watchmen. You know what I mean? Like, he went around Hollywood and was like, what should I make that's hot? It's not like he's reading this stuff and discovering it. Gunn is reading this stuff and discovering it. You know what I mean? You can tell the style of filmmaking. Let's
give credit where credit's due, because I want to get better at that on this show. 300 is
Frank
some
Miller.
Phenomenal. Yeah, but as far as superhero imagery to screen, Zack Snyder killed that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Killed that.
Working from a Frank Miller base. Like,
And when he writes his own stories, it's rough.
Yeah. 300's of Frank Miller base. You know what I mean? Like Watchmen's and Alan Moore base. Like those movies are based on comics that came out and did well for a while, and then he was able to select it based on that.
Absolutely. And honestly, they nailed it with James Gunn, because you know what? If you want to keep complaining, you know who almost got it? Joker 2.
Yeah.
Ooh. He was almost the head of DC Studios for a little bit there. So
come back in 10 years, that movie will be looked at differently.
Sure, but do you really want him helming Justice League?
No.
Who knows?
I would love to see his take on it. Give me an Elseworld story, sure, but I don't want him to be the main continuity. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, speaking of main continuity, let's shift gears here and talk about one of the most grotesque moments to ever grace the screen of Disney Plus with Daredevil. Good Lord.
Wowzers.
Daredevil, Born Again, definitely nailed the ending. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
do love how pissed off. I got a bunch of pissed off text messages, especially from Rye, who, if you go back a couple issues and you'll know who that is. But Rye was like, I can't believe this show had no ending. They're going to make me wait. So I'm like, they're filming now, dude. Chill.
It
had an ending.
You have to have a cliffhanger at the end of the season. Come
Well,
on.
But it also it met the needs of its title. It's called Born Again, and they were all reborn. Both were reborn into the characters they started as.
Also,
it's
to be
funny.
fair, it's fewer episodes than the Netflix run. So you had
Could
to
have actually cut 2 more to me.
Oh, sure. But, I guess they broke the season in half to have the story and try to retrofit it the way they needed to. I'm assuming.
Go ahead, Buzz.
I was just going to say, I feel like these characters are finally coming into like the pinnacle comic book TV series version of them.
Yes.
With like their evolutions and like how they're both going through similar stuff. Like all the characters are all going through similar shifts and changes, and comics sort of move like that. Sometimes comic book TV shows move slow, and you're kind of waiting for the cool things to happen, and they don't. Born Again kind of delivered on all of that.
Mm-hmm. Even in episodes where I feel like it struggled, like The Bank. Like I know the episode is, especially for a long time, Daredevil fans have said that this feels like a Daredevil comic more than the show ever has.
Yeah.
The problem to me is it just felt like Matt meets the MCU. Like it just felt like they wanted to shoehorn the Miss Marvel stuff in there so badly that they had to write a whole episode specifically for that. It felt like the old guard still had its say before good old Kevin Feige. Giving Fahai, Fiji. He got a chance to retool everything, and even those moments were still good. Like even though I hated I'll just have to make sure I get to Jersey. That was dumb. The rest of the episode was great.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the 2 moments that were just phenomenal: writing and acting. First off, John Bernthal.
Oh,
It's the
man.
best.
John Bernthal's
Best
Punisher.
ever. I'm sorry.
Buzz and I were talking about this earlier. Top 5 best superhero casting of all time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, man, he really delivers. And I read the Punisher when I was a kid for a long time. It was like one of my first books. I collected a lot and organized it all, and I was cracking up in a good way, not making like he's just nailing it,
Mm-hmm. Oh, the moment where he's dealing with the cops for the first time,
right.
which was cooler than they dealt with it in the comics. Like I love that. But you guys clowns, you think you know my pain?
Yeah. He's not. It's like Dredd not taking the helmet off. Punisher is just not losing who he is. You don't have to. Pardon the expression, but bitch out John Bernthal.
The thing with those scenes with him and the cops, I saw a lot of people complaining that Punisher wouldn't. Or Frank wouldn't get hit so much. He'd be more tactical on how he attacked everybody. I'm like, are we reading the same books?
Yeah.
I mean, he just goes in like a.
He just shows up. Yeah.
Well, also let's keep in mind that you're watching an adaptation of a comic book, which is a lot more fantastical than what they were trying to show on screen. And dude was tied to a damn chair.
Yeah.
He's gonna get hit a lot.
He's also a guy that kind of doesn't care if he loses.
Right.
Yes.
And that's his charm, is he walks into scenario, and that's why Daredevil and him work, because Daredevil does the same thing.
Well, I love that moment where he was like, no killing, and he's like, absolutely not.
He's like, so I should save this guy too? Bang. I was like,
Yeah.
Shot everybody.
Their banter, I could watch 16 episodes of their banter.
100%.
yes.
And they had a really cool setup for the next season. And by the way, obviously the Defenders have why they're coming back and why we've got Daredevil in the new costume now. So it isn't Daredevil going bad like we were speculating because of Shadowland. It's a new suit as the Defenders show up. It would have been really nice to actually have the Defenders in that final moment.
I was waiting for a stinger at the end for Kristen Ritter to show up or
walk through the door.
Yeah, like that would have been
blew my mind.
Perfect.
But honestly, I mean, it turns out, and I think this is so dumb that Sony is just so dumb.
What?
Anyway, Sony won't allow a Spider-Man crossover to TV shows. And they also won't allow TV show characters to cross over to Spider-Man movies, which is why we won't get Kingpin cameoing in Spider-Man 4, which sounds stupid, seeing as how he's the mayor. And all of this craziness just happened in the city that you would think Spider-Man would be all over.
Yep.
They need to rewrite the contracts because it's probably in the contracts and it's probably relating to companies making money off of characters and being not lending the character to the other company. You know what I mean?
Well, the rumor was that they were that they already did redo the contract, and that's why they were getting that Venom version of the movie of Spider-Man 4. But that to do that while they wouldn't get the grounded Spider-Man movie we all hoped for, they would allow Marvel to use Spider-Man more sparingly throughout other things, so they can have him cameo in a TV show. Apparently, there was a whole episode that Spider-Man showed up in Daredevil, but it had to get scrapped because Sony wouldn't allow it to happen. Which is just so dumb.
Yeah, it is.
I want Sony to stick to PlayStations and other movies, not comic book stuff. Just stick to that. That's what they're good at. And I appreciate that.
Sony Spider-Man game is the best superhero game made in God knows how long. Maybe ever. That it's heartfelt story, heartfelt action. It's absolutely everything you would need a superhero story to be, but the movies have never hit that way unless good old Fahij is a part of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to bitch about Sony for too long because Daredevil Born Again is what? Best Disney Plus show?
Current favorite.
Currently?
Disney Plus or Marvel Disney Plus?
Marvel Disney Plus.
What's
I would
unpack
Andor
that,
is so freaking good.
Oh no, we're talking Marvel. We're talking Marvel. That's unfair to put the two together. That's unfair. But because none of Disney
Hawkeye's
Plus,
pretty awesome.
Hawkeye is really awesome.
I love Hawkeye.
But I would also I would say top three. You know what? Let's just go top 5.
Okay.
Daredevil. Hawkeye might be number 1.
Does it bump WandaVision?
Daredevil number 1.
Okay.
Hawkeye number 2, because I love Hawkeye. And I love Kate Bishop now. I would say Loki number 3 because of its importance. Then I would say WandaVision, and then I probably would give it to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I know that's a little bit of a controversial take, but I think that's an underrated, slept-on show.
I feel that, but it also was important. And if you watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you probably understand Brave New World a little bit better too.
No question. Which is available. Feel free to support because it needs it. Feel free. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. Before we get into Super Jersey Comic Expo, we did get a request for us to talk about something that I want to make sure we honor. And it comes from our good friends over at Comic Geeks and More, and they wanted to know, they wanted our opinion on the most impactful comic events in the comic industry, which is such a heavy-handed topic that we could go on this for another 3 hours. But let's go down some of our favorite, most impactful moments, and I think we could all agree, for most of us on this panel, maybe not Moshko, but most of us on this panel, that Death of Gwen Stacy might be the most pivotal moment in comics, especially as you get older, because it allowed comics to grow up.
Yes.
It took a step back for a little bit because of the Comics Code Authority, but the death of Gwen Stacy really moved us into the was it the modern age? I'm pretty sure it moved us into the modern age of comics, right? Or the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time a hero lost. So obviously that's got to be number 1. But now that that's out of the way, let's hear Moshko first. What do you got?
Oh, well, mine's the I guess the dark horse of the or whatever we're talking about here. I think we're going through it right now. So this whole
Ooh.
diamond distribution thing.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking like
I'm
comic
thinking more
events. You're
I'm
thinking like
comics in general and how it impacts everybody.
Yeah.
I think this whole distribution thing going on right now
that's a good one.
We'll see what happens.
Well,
Could will
I
it
hate-
be for the best or for the worst?
But I would also argue that COVID did the same thing. I mean, COVID rocked the comic industry. I'm not kidding. I mean,
I know.
It rocked the world, obviously, but it also allowed for this moment in Diamond to happen. And you know what? It's, at least for the comic industry, wasn't the worst thing. Because Diamond's stranglehold was probably not the best for the industry itself. I think getting other companies involved, like
Random House.
is it? Yeah, and Lunar and lot of the pains and gripes that comic shop owners have had, they haven't had with these new companies. So it did make the shop life better.
It's long overdue. I've been hearing about this stuff for 30 years.
Yeah, but so you would know better than the rest of us.
Right?
30 years, people have been like, "How do I get my comic book in Diamond?" Oh, well, you have to sell at least 2,500 copies of it, or we can't publish it. It's not worth carrying. And it's like, if you're an independent creator and you're trying to make something, there's no way in. And the Kickstarter changed all that. You
hear this, Alliance? If you're gonna win that damn vote, I want you to make sure to make some changes, or whoever.
Yeah, I haven't seen what the latest
Warner Brothers
is on this story.
Warner Brothers snaked it out from underneath them. I'm Team Alliance on this one. Wow, you changed my entire way of looking at this. I'm thinking like comic events. Like I'm thinking like Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm thinking
like storylines.
Secret Wars.
You'd have to break that question up a little bit.
But no, there was what about the comic bust in the 90s? I mean, we all went through that when they oversold the fabulous first issue a million times over to everything lost value.
I think
Blue Superman, or
I think what predated that
was
Superman Blue and Superman Red.
Don't bring that one up.
I think what predated that was the formation of Image.
That's a good one.
Formation of Image really was a scary but also a very positive impact on comics.
100%.
Yeah,
that was
creators
big
became like primary benefactors to their creation. And that's why that company was formed, was because they weren't getting allowed to do what they wanted to do with the books they were on for Marvel. And so it really kind of cracked the sky on potentiality.
I mean, that makes you love Spawn so much more to know he was the boogeyman of both Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
So much so that they even wrote it into a book. One of my favorite panels of all time is Spawn walking through that
jail cell.
And all of the superheroes' hands coming out, going that they're stuck behind.
Another. See, now that's a McFarlane moment that they would normally be like, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that." But he would push it to be able to do that. So
No question.
The Image Comics one's my pick.
How about I thought I had a good one. Oh, yeah, I would argue a huge deal was the introduction of Shazam, and then the lawsuit after his success. Because if that lawsuit never happened, we would not be talking about Superman. We would be talking about Shazam as the pinnacle of superheroes, because he outsold Superman 5-1. And that's why they sued him. And they sued him in such a snaky way. They just made sure the company would go bankrupt and then bought all their stuff. Was that Charleston? Was that Charleston?
Comics is crooked, man.
Pretty sure.
I think that was Charleston. I could be. No, Wiz. Was it Wiz? I think it was Wiz Comics. I forget. But it was. I think people sleep on the importance of Shazam because they look at him and he looks like a product of the 70s, and you're like, oh, the stupid cape. But Shazam was very similar to Spawn, a character that shook the industry because they didn't have control of him. So much so that they did some snaky stuff, as Buzz is talking about, to make sure that they could regain control of him. And that's back when he was Captain Marvel, not Shazam, obviously.
You're right. It was Wiz Comics.
What else?
The death of Superman.
Yeah, but then he brought him back.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
You know what about the death of Superman was it made the news.
Yeah, that was
the news was talking about comics, like the regular news networks, and that's hard to do. To get a notice like
the death
that.
of Superman was so big they had a whole skit for it on Saturday Night Live, which was crazy.
Well, how about? I mean, if you want to talk about the deaths reaching the news, the death of Captain America, that also hit the news after Civil War. That was another big one when Bucky took over, and people were like, "I don't know if that should be Captain America," which is funny because another one that that made the news, stupid Fox News, but made the news when Falcon took over, and like, "Oh, he's for open borders." Like, no, he's not. No, he protected a family from the Serpent Society at the border. Like, dude, relax.
It's
relax.
a comic book.
Relax. The death of Spider-Man when Miles Morales was introduced. I mean, we all accept Miles now. We all like Miles now. Well, most of us like Miles now, but back then, Miles was hated because of the death of Peter. And people, it was another time very similar to Star Wars where people were screaming about a whole bunch of other things, and everyone's like, no, you just killed a character I've been reading for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
because you wanted to make a new variation of them instead of doing what they're doing now, which is give Peter the chance to, like, Spider-Man is such a great book.
Yeah,
giving Peter a chance to pass the torch, like what we wanted from Luke Skywalker and Rey.
Right, be the mentor. That's all.
How about here's two big ones. Keeping Marvel from going under. The Ultimates universe being launched, the original one, not the new one. Although I'd argue the new one is also up there. Oh, you know what? Absolute should also be on that list.
Yeah.
That's shaking things up. I mean, they're outselling everybody, so Absolute should be on that list. But also another thing that kept Marvel from going bankrupt is Civil War. Civil War was a gigantic book.
That was big.
Yeah. Man. Wow.
All right, I think that's enough.
The Comics Code.
Comics Code. Well, how about this? How about it wasn't Neil
Adams?
Neil Adams. Thank you.
Helping out Siegel and Schuster get credit for Superman.
Oh yeah, what a good one. Oh, what a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Dude, they were living in like rundown apartments in New York, and Neil said that they didn't even have a table. They had books stacked up with like a piece of wood on it. Like they were so broke.
Well, Bill Finger.
Yeah, Bill Finger.
Another good one.
Getting acknowledged.
Yeah.
Some say Bill Finger did more than Bob Kane.
I would 100% make that argument. Bob Kane did that one single picture of him when he looked like a weird acrobatic and that.
I mean the one where he traced
wings.
the Superman drawing? He didn't even draw it himself. He traced the first Superman pose from the first panel.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Tracing. Yeah.
Wow.
He admitted it years later, dude.
Yeah, Bill Finger created Gotham, the Batmobile, the actual cape and cowl, the tone.
Yeah, dropped the guns.
Yep.
Although he also had him, hang somebody in the first issue, but we won't go down that road. We won't go down that road. But yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. The artists getting the creators getting their credit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal, man. It matters to this day. I mean, you got a lot of guys now that are working for Marvel that are just like making characters in new costumes, and it's just like factory. Like they're not really. I think the last guy to complain about it was the Spider-Gwen guy.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair because Spider-Gwen is a gigantic character now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's fair. Now all they get is that little thank you at the very end of the credits.
It's barely there, man. They didn't even put it in the freaking Spider-Man cartoon. They didn't put created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. It's like, I'm a comic book creator, so it matters to me. But if you just start letting it happen where they don't do it, then they'll just never do it, and then these things become corporate icons, and then no one knows the love behind how they were created.
Wow, thanks.
Super something.
No, what? Super something. No. Comics Geeks and More for taking us down a rabbit hole we were not expected to go to today. But I learned something new. I had no idea that Bob Kane traced that first issue. Or
that first picture of Batman's a tracing.
It's a good documentary too. That Bill Finger documentary. It's a great documentary. Worth looking. Oh, how about this? One more. Milestone. Oh. Milestone Comics. That's another big one, man.
Yeah, man.
Static Shock, Icon.
That was big.
Yeah.
That was big.
Real big moment.
Superheroes, man.
They did.
All right. Let's
make sure to come by the booth, say hi, so we could put a face to the name.
Yes, please. If you're at Super Jersey Comic Expo, 100%. Speaking of which, let's take a quick second and just talk about the fact that this weekend, as I said in the beginning of the show, is Super Jersey Comic Expo, and we are doing our damnedest to make it a special event. We are taking over the social medias of the actual con itself. We are going to be all over that showroom floor. So by all means, stop us and give us crap, specifically features. Give him the most crap. Just every Cyclops problem you have, I want you to air it out.
In fact, every Cyclops come by and give
Nobody's
dressed
got to
as
dress with the Cyclops.
I will take photos with you. Cyclops rocks. Does not suck. Jesus.
But yeah, we not only do we got Buzz has his exclusive prints, which are dope. Those are phenomenal. Which, by the way, if you can get that Michael Jai White and Dean Cain autographs on that, that's going to be something special. Yeah,
I'm going for that.
That's going to be something special. But also one really cool thing that I'm happy I get to say on the show, Mike from Comic Universe did something pretty cool today that blows my mind. And Philadelphia comic book royalty was Fat Jack's, and it was one of the saddest things when that store went under. When that store had to close, it was well, he just bought half their collection.
Nice.
Wow. 187 long boxes, I believe.
Keep it in the community, man.
So
keep it in the community.
Not only is there it's going to take a while, obviously, go through each of these long boxes, but something tells me he's going to do something special at Comic-Con specifically for that. And I love the fact that the legacy of Fat Jack's gets to continue at Comic Universe. So, one of the oldest shop in Delco now gets to be, the harbinger of the soul of Fat Jack's, at least half of it. Love that.
That's awesome.
The collection matters, man. I'm sure there's some awesome back issues.
So good. And he's, he hasn't cemented anything yet, so I don't want to say anything, but he has some pretty wild ideas of what he wants to do at at Super Jersey Comic Expo. So find our booth. It's going to be both 140 or
142,
142 and 143.
Yes.
We have that whole space. Okay. But it is going to be Comic Universe. It's going to be obviously That Comic Podcast. It's going to be, if you've been to any convention that's worth talking about, Buzz has been there and you've seen his setup. So we're going to have some of that stuff available. Gatekeeper, who you've seen me do some streams with, has a cool game, and he got really cool custom discs printed. So any of those disc golf fans out there, who, especially if you're still watching from that stream, who all kept saying, I want one of those discs. We actually have them in real life for the first time. So we can actually give out real discs after all this. And I know it's a weird cross, but I love disc golf now. I love playing disc golf now.
We've been out a few times. I suck, but it's fun.
I. But you know what? The disc golf community doesn't care if you suck. Comic fans, the trolls online will you're not a real fan. You don't know about blah, 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 blah. Disc golf people are not like that.
Yeah.
Disc golf people are not like that.
I hear it's a real chill sport.
So fun. Fun. I even brought my stepdad, who's a big golfer,
nice.
And he, again, had a blast. So come on, grab one of those discs. We're actually going to have a game available for you guys to play to win some of the discs, so that's going to be unique and fun. But we're also going to be doing a lot of man on the street interviews, so if you want to get into some of our videos, by all means, hunt us down. And yeah, we got free reign of the floor because Paul didn't change his passwords. So yeah, we are going to be doing a lot while we're there, and we could use your support and help. Come find us. Come engage. Yeah, this actually, I guess it's fair to say, our first con as this new podcast.
Very true.
Awesome.
Yeah. First con.
First of many.
If for some reason you can't make it, we'll have plenty of videos and audio and all kinds of stuff up for weeks to come from this. I imagine we're going to get a lot, so it'll be fun.
Yep. Hopefully this is a beginning of a really cool new chapter for this show. And I want to thank Paul for not changing his passwords. I want to thank the good folks at Super Jersey Comic Expo for not stopping us. But yeah, I can't wait. And so Saturday, 10 to 5, and then Sunday 10 to 4. Unless you got your VIP passes, then it's at 9. We will be there at 9. We will with bells on, or at least we'll put a bell on Moshko or something.
And coffee.
A lot of coffee. A whole lot of coffee. So much coffee. All right. Let's move over to comics.
Oh, really quick.
I'm not going to lie. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Before we get into comics, I do want us to take, and I probably should have brought this up sooner, but I want us to have a moment of silence just for a friend of a podcast whom we met way back doing New York Comic Con, Rob Stull, brilliant artist and inker. He had a very private battle with cancer, which unfortunately, did not pull through. And it is sad.
I can't say enough nice things about that guy.
Yeah, he was totally awesome. There's so much I want to say, and I don't want to abuse too much of our listeners' time, but just this moment of silence.
That's 100% fine. I would love to celebrate Rob because Rob did some cool things that no one else did for us during Big Apple.
Yeah,
that was during our time with Big Apple, and that was when we were with Cumulus at Fireside. That's when we got to do a lot of cool things. But Rob was different. Rob Stull, he was there with Dinko D,
yes,
which was a really cool interview. First off, but Rob also challenged us and then taught us. Right, he didn't do it to be an asshole. He did it to make sure that we respected the lineage that he was so proud of, and the work that he was able to do is legendary. And he 100% deserves all the admiration. And it is so sad to hear about that passing. I can't say enough wonderful things about him. Yep. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that moment. Okay. All right. Rob, we miss you, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, comic review time. We got, I'm not going to lie, I didn't read a lot.
This wasn't a great week for me either.
This is a rough week.
Yeah.
Even this week is going to be tough.
Yes. Oh, I don't even know how we're pulling that off, to be honest with you. But actually, to be honest, I don't even know what our next show is going to look like. Let's just be upfront with that. Because
it could
normally
be just interviews. It could be...
And it might come Friday instead of Wednesday. Normally, I would say this. When we do cons, we usually take a week off. We're not going to... we're not going to do that. We're going to try and get something. But it's going to be... usually we do this stuff on Monday, and we're going to be coming back from the con and dead. So it's got.
What we'll do, we'll make sure to record. We could do Andor review during the con.
That's true.
We've got the equipment will be there. We'll be able to record at the show.
Oh, that's Tuesday. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah,
that's so exciting.
We'll have
Tuesday.
something up
Tuesday. And it's a 3-episode premiere.
Wow.
Oh,
how long? Are they 45 minutes?
I don't know, but I can't wait. Ooh, I can't wait.
3 episodes.
Ooh, can't wait. But let's also move into our comics because I didn't read a lot. I actually feel like a comic creator, Buzz. I feel like I finally get to give that answer. Like, dude, I'm too busy to actually stay up with comics. I'm too busy making comics to stay up with them. You're the only. Hey, Buzz is the only person to not give me that answer. But just for anybody who doesn't know, that's how I first met Buzz, was actually an interview. And he was the only person, because I didn't know how faux pas of a question that was in my first comic convention interviewing people. And then I realized very quickly, don't ask that question. That is not a question to ask, because, you're too busy. And this man, the most busiest individual I know, still keeps up. It's wild.
Trying. Some good stuff coming out, though.
Yeah. You know what? And this was a good week. I will say I got one trash book. I'm going to throw that under the bus first, which Godzilla vs. Hulk. Oh, buddy. Godzilla vs. Hulk was not good.
Hulk smash.
No, Hulk.
Was it an episode of full fighting, or was
Bro, they didn't even fight.
What?
How do you lost me already?
Didn't even fight.
What?
Can I? I'll break the big twist to it. Spoiler alert, because you're never going to read this. Godzilla gets hurt, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. And then Hulk starts to bleed, and he bleeds into Godzilla. So then Godzilla becomes even more radiated and becomes this giant, bigger Godzilla because of the Hulk DNA going inside of it.
Yep.
We threw a lot of ideas at the wall.
Well,
this is the one we came up with again.
And and honestly, the Hulk fighting Godzilla is dope, because
it is dope,
dude. Justice League versus King Kong versus Godzilla, when Superman had his first fight with Godzilla, was awesome. So much so that they have a sequel to that book, which I'm stoked for. That book is not the greatest, but it was a million times better than what I read in Hulk vs. Godzilla, and so much so that I was going to go back and do Hulk vs. Fantastic Four. I don't think I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to wait for the major crossover event where it's Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe. But it seems like they're just trying to, strike the iron of what DC did, because Godzilla now has the ability to do that.
Yeah, they're gonna make it canon now. Put him in the universe.
But if you're going to do something,
where we're headed,
especially with the Hulk, that issue should be nothing but Hulk smash and Godzilla blast. Period.
Bro,
make it Savage Hulk.
The best Hulk Godzilla, if you really want something good, go to What If. Remember that What If where Hulk turns into a Godzilla creature with Falcon Cap talking him off the edge when they all had the mech suits?
Oh yeah.
Watch that. That's a much better version. Because this was just like they made a weird hodgepodge villain that of all of the kaiju from
like they were capturing them,
and Godzilla's always been a part of the universe, and Thunderbolt Ross is the one who's setting everything up, and it's like this is just none of this is good.
Right.
Is it me or was Hulk talking? Did he have way more dialogue than I remembered in a lot of books?
Early Hulk does. He was a lot more eloquent, I will say, than I was expecting to be, even though he's not Smart Hulk, but he does.
Is it Great Hulk?
No, it's Green Hulk, and he was just like, "I will help you with my blood." That's not what he said. It's not what he said, but it's okay. It was a dumb book.
What he always does.
But I do want to switch gears to a book that features read very last minute to, I think, by far the best book this week, and then we'll go into some of the things that I think are going to be the most popular. But the best book this week was Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles 8 was by far the best book this week. Because this story arc of how the turtles are coming together after being separated, with all of them having this different viewpoint and feeling betrayed by their other brothers, really came to a beautiful head with Donatello, who this whole time we all thought was crazy.
Yeah.
The whole time that Donatello for his one shot was essentially put in a cage for, I mean, it must have been
Months,
like a year, maybe
years.
Longer. Well, because he was so thin by the end of it. But he just was tortured and tormented.
It's all shell.
Kinda. I mean, he's so thin and emaciated.
Yeah.
But he also has a dead rat that he talks to, because Splinter died in the earlier stories, and he believes that the dead rat is Splinter. And all of his brothers keep kind of like, we got to watch out for Donnie. Donnie's losing it.
Right.
But they are so wrapped up in their own world and what's going on to them, they forgot about doing what Master Splinter wanted, which is protecting the people of New York. So while the rest of them are like in the sewers of Newark trying to figure out they left New York because there's the
there's like a whole the new DA, or he might even be the mayor now. He was like,
and it's what happened to Mutant Town, like the mutant bomb that went off. It goes back to the original arc that I didn't actually read.
He's pretty much turned the city against mutants, especially the turtles.
Yes. So they flee the city every time they show up. But Donnie goes out every night and is the only one to stop muggers, to stop robbers. He's out, stopping people from being assaulted. And the other, like Leo, tries to figure out the best, like what's going on with his brother, and follows him. And then Donnie at one point looks up and goes, "Are you going to be helpful?
Yeah, that was.
Are you actually going to get involved here?" And he was like, "No, we're doing what's best. Sometimes we have to let these go." And he's like, "You've lost your way. You've lost your way."
That part hit so hard, and then by the end, if I may,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. The moment of clarity that interaction with Donnie gives Leo at the end, he starts to realize, dang, we really strayed from this path. And
from
then
Splinter.
Yes, and then it seemed like he goes crazy too, but it's not that. And even certain parts in the story, they show you, like when Donnie says, "You don't hear it." You don't hear it. It's not me crying at night.
No, he did hear it. That was so what he's saying that Leo heard crying and keeps saying that Donnie's crying himself to sleep every night.
Right.
And Donnie runs away going, "It's not me you hear crying."
Yeah, and he also talks about like he can see or knows everything that's happening around the city because of Splinter. And that's part of the reason why they think he's crazy, because of the dead rat on the shoulder. But there's a section in there.
To be fair, he's a little crazy.
a little bit. It does come off a little crazy, but then there's a section in there, and I believe it's April O'Neil walking into an alleyway, and she goes, "I have a friend, and I'm just looking to hear help, and I've been hearing this thing all the time." And she holds up a light, and you see a whole bunch of eyes, and you can pretty much piece together it's a bunch of rats. But it's like, oh, maybe this is really the connection that Donnie was having, and this is why he's able to.
And then the most impactful moment of all, when he finds out that the crying he's hearing was Splinter.
Yeah.
That Splinter's crying himself to every night because the turtles will not get over their own hurt from the other turtles to actually do what's right and live by, Clan Hamato. It's such a great book.
Yeah.
Jason Aaron's took some wild swings with Star Wars. He took some wild swings with Thor. He took some wild swings with Moon Knight. Some bad, some great. I won't hear any down on that Thor. Jane Foster Thor rules. I'm not hearing any complaints about Jane Foster, but Moon Knight I thought was not great. This is outstanding.
Yeah.
This is one of the best turtle stories I've ever read, and I cannot wait to keep this going.
I'm glad it's back.
So good.
I like it being about the core four and their and their enmeshment with each other. That's the heart of it. That's what you fell in love with that first movie back in the day.
But they're so divided, and that's like, I love that. And Leo thinks he has it all under control. Leo's like, I cannot believe that they're doing all this, and yet the whole time he keeps hearkening back to when to his one shot when he was trying to be with he was actually trying to be eaten. He was trying to be eaten by these turtles.
The soft belly turtles in the lake. Yeah.
Anyway, great book, 100% worth your time. Definitely read it. Let's move over to another one let's move over to two at the same time, because these, I think, are equally as good, but for different reasons. We have Absolute Flash number 2, and we have Ultimate Wolverine number 3, both of which had cool reveals, both of which had very metaphorical ways of telling the story that was somewhat jarring to follow, but in, I think, a very good way, because Flash is Flash. Flash is hard to follow even when they're trying to make it easy. This one is Wally has no idea what's going on, and he's seeing himself through different periods. I love that he saw himself as at the Flash Museum, essentially in the future, but at the same time, they're adapting the Flash of Two Worlds storyline, but in a completely unique way, where he is jumping to a timeline that we don't know is true, that he could be the catalyst of. So when we saw in the first one that Barry was dead, that was just in this potential timeline, and that we see Barry alive in a different timeline. And Flash and Wally has no idea what's going on or how to control it or how to make sure that the timeline where he becomes the hero of he's Central City or Star City. He's Central City.
Central City.
Sure, he's Central City.
Yeah.
I forget. It's one of those two. It's one of the fake DC cities.
I think it's Central City.
I think it changes a lot.
Well, yeah, because is it Central? Because I forget. Like, what was Coast City? Coast City
was
that's Green
GL.
Lantern.
Yeah.
Anyway, the
Keystone.
The way they're doing this is a brilliant way to bring in that storyline in a fresh take. And then they give us a big reveal at the end, which is Grodd is one of those monkeys from the beginning. Yeah. When I was like, they're showing us an intro to Grodd. They bring him out. And he is like an adorable little brain monkey.
Yeah.
He's not the same monkey. Something tells me he's going to be a good guy.
It's funny how when they introduce him, you see kind of the silhouette of his face a little bit. You assume it's going to be the big monkey. And then when he comes out, you're like, oh, it's a little fella.
Monkey
so
Grodd,
cute.
not Gorilla Grodd.
Right.
He's very less gorilla-y. He's like a green brain monkey.
Yeah.
But I cannot wait to see what they do with that. But Features said, hey, I just read Absolute Flash. You're going to lose it when you get to that final panel. And while, yes, I thought that was a really fun final panel, it didn't mean nearly as much as the final page of Ultimate Wolverine 3.
Ooh.
Ultimate Wolverine 3 is a very bizarre book because it's mostly metaphorical. The majority of the book is a wolf fighting a bear. And it's a wolf that's obviously supposed to represent Winter Soldier Wolverine, that's got like scratches on his face. And you hear a bunch of the scientists talking about the not being able to control him. They think he's actually dying. They're like my favorite is that his heart rate is spiking, and they're like he's not going to make it, but he keeps staring at the one guy, and the one guy keeps going, why is he staring at me? And his vitals are going through the roof, and they're so scared that he's getting. And mind you, this is only in text. In the actual art you're seeing is a wolf going through the woods, coming across this giant white bear, and eventually having this blowout fight with the bear. That when it ends with Wolverine free from his captivity in the Weapon X facility, murdered everybody. Like the one guy, where's my hand? And you see him at the end holding his arm.
But that massacre scene though, crazy.
Cool, but we didn't really get to see a lot of it. We saw the aftermath of it. It was mostly that fight with the wolf, and I was like, this is kind of it's an interesting way to tell it, but it's not like I would much rather be in the room with Wolverine than see the metaphorical side of it. But then we get he's controlled in 3 different ways.
Yes.
Sedatives, manipulation, and mind control.
Now hold up.
The mind control. Well, let's ask.
Before you touch on that part of the reason, if we jump back to the second book, we realize Kitty Pryde actually forced memories back into his head when she recognized who he was. And that's where the issue started, and that's where we're picking up from in this issue. Now, fast forward, back to what you're saying about mind control.
Well, we find out one person's dead and has been dead for a little bit, and his brain is still important, as it has been before. Professor X has been dead for a good long while.
Yep.
But they were able to harvest his brain and his nervous system and connect it to their version of Cerebro, which is cerebellum, is what it's called. And inside the cerebellum is a giant nervous system connected to a brain that is Professor X. But underneath that brain, connected to it, is the most shocking part of all, which is when they start saying she's the one who controls him. Mm-hmm. And then we realize it's the Phoenix that all life has been removed from her body, that they're just controlling her through using cerebellum and using the minds of both Jean and Professor X to control Wolverine.
Which makes sense. Those are the two most powerful minds you could have controlling a Wolverine.
But she's still intact. Something tells me she's got to come down off that.
I think so at some point too. Which now,
but she can't hold herself up. Like, she has no muscles.
Yeah,
she has she felt like Injustice Superman, not Injustice Superman. Not Injustice Superman. The Red Sun Superman. Not Red Sun, but the one that was in Red Sun for the whole time. Flashpoint. Thank you. Flashpoint Superman. Because I'm going to say there is a Red Sun Superman. It's not that one. Not the Russian one.
Yeah. So the thing that I want to see now, and what I think is most interesting about Ultimate Wolverine, and this I have to touch back on Ultimate X-Men for this too, is that I was questioning, like, why are we getting this version of X-Men? This isn't the X-Men I was expecting when they talked Ultimate X-Men. Now I'm understanding, like, all the mutant activity is happening over in Eurasia,
and Logan killed most of them.
Yes. Now I'm curious now that we know, like, because we've seen some faces now, and now that we've got Jean Grey, Phoenix there, I kind of want to see if they introduce Cyclops. See what it looks like. See what his story is in his ultimate universe. Listen, you can laugh all you want to,
man.
but Cyclops probably, I would say Cyclops probably does not suck for the casual Cyclops sucks fan in this ultimate universe, because things are different here, as we know.
Lance,
this is from Fermunda.
Lance, this is for you. Shut up, features. But I'm curious, Moshko, what did you take away from those two books? Like, as a non-Flash fan.
So glad you asked, because I'm falling asleep over here. I'm sorry. I'm crashing. I mean, I read Flash. I didn't read Wolverine. It's extending the story. You're getting a little better understanding about what's going on. The Groot thing was kind of cool. He's basically the size of the Outbreak monkey, so that's kind of cool. But
I also loved the Rogues Gallery. I thought they were very cool, the way that they worked together as more of a instead of a crime unit,
like a tactical unit, retrieval squad or something like.
Love Trickster. Now that I know who that is.
Yeah, and that I don't know what gender. Who knows?
What Trickster? Yeah, no clue. Behind that mask, I have no idea.
No point in even trying to say it.
No idea.
But ultimately, Trickster was the one that, I guess, prevailed that whole scenario. I'm trying to
Fake
think
Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Trickster.
Pretty much.
All right, one last book, and then we got to wrap it up. But we have to mention it because it is a milestone issue. Wolverine 400. Wolverine 400 is a weird book, but an awesome book.
Weird?
It is weird for two reasons. One, the adamantine storyline I still can't stand. But they put it on pause.
Great.
So he has his final fight with Romulus, who was in control of, or who adamantine was in control of, and then he stabs him in his mouth because it's the only part that's not what's it called, covered in that adamantine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we actually see a physical form for adamantine, if that's how you say his name. We see like this weird, I don't know, he kind of looked like a I don't know, maybe like a Roman warrior.
Like Night Golem or something.
Yeah. And he was like, we will have this out later, and he flies away. That's really it. But I love, and these are moments that I know other fans aren't as happy with because they don't like the fact that there's two Wolverines. But I love the fact that Laura Kinney was the whole reason he felt that way. Like, the whole reason he didn't succumb was because he was talking about taking over Laura, and that if he let go, that Laura was next. And Laura is upstairs fighting most of Wolverine's rogue gallery on her own.
Wowzers.
And so it was a really nice moment to see between them. And I know we've had those moments before, even when Wolverine came out, or Laura Kenny's Wolverine came out, but it was still really cool. But then it also cleared up another storyline with the Wendigo, which was my favorite part of this Wolverine story. And I almost teared up at one point because, spoiler alert, the Wendigo doesn't make it. And remember, the Wendigo's a kid.
Oh, no.
So Arcade, who's a dumb villain, Arcade sets up a series of traps for Wolverine, and he has the Wendigo tied to a chair that has spikes that keep stabbing him to get him angry enough that he can't control himself anymore, because Wolverine kind of taught him how to control the bloodlust. And then he put 3 people in the room, and he said, I'm going to give you 5 minutes before I release the Wendigo, and he's going to go back to his murderous ways. So Wolverine has to go through these moments of his past to get to the Wendigo before that moment happens. So he gets to see Silver Fox. He has a moment with Silver Fox, even though she's fake. He has a moment with the Weapon X facility that he knows is fake. Anyway, he gets through all of this, and he finally protects the Wendigo. And the Wendigo's about to come out, and he keeps the Wendigo from going crazy. And Arcade puts a giant half bubble made of adamantium and glass around Wolverine, and then filled it with an acid that will eat away his skin, and it literally eats his legs away as it's filling up the thing, and Wolverine can't break out of it. So then Wendigo comes over, and together they both hit it at the same time. And when Wendigo finally breaks it, because he looks at Wolverine like a pseudo father figure, he grabs Wolverine and hugs him, and then brings him down as the acid washes over him. So the acid then washes over the Wendigo, and he just it's really sad to look at, because as far as his face is coming off, and I'm like, man, this is a 12-year-old kid. But the death of the Wendigo, because it's a curse, brought the kid back. So it does have a happy ending, and then Wolverine does get to go. He brings the kid back to his mom, and he finally has a home cooked meal, and it does have this really nice ending before we move on to. For Wolverine, that's a big deal. Dude, for Wolverine, that's a big deal.
He just didn't know when to go.
No, there it is. That's that top brow comedy you get over here at That Comic Podcast. But then it also had a really cool actual samurai story at the end, features that you would probably love. But with all that being said, I feel like we have gone an hour and a half, and I tried to make this an hour, and it was my fault, so I'm very sorry. And I don't want Moshko to fall asleep on the microphone, and we have a lot of setting up still to do for Super Jersey Comic Expo. So on that, I'm going to do that.
Super Jersey Comic Expo.
I had coffee, man. I got this. You can find the show at That Comic Podcast everywhere online. That's at That Comic Podcast to your social media choice, unless it's Twitter, which is That Comic Pod. But make sure you find us this weekend at Super Jersey Comic Expo. Is that better?
Insane.
It's insane.
Saturday, Sunday.
Comics.
For real, come find us. It's going to be a blast. We can't wait to meet some of you. It's super excited for this. And yeah, the reception to a lot of our videos has been great. I'm so happy that you guys are liking it. Our engagement's going up, our views are going up, and it's thanks to you guys for supporting the show each and every week. So thank you so much. And with that being said, once again, I am Menti.
I'm Moshko.
I'm Features.
And that is that.
Deuces.
Excelsior.
That's that, huh?